Welcome to the journey of an awakening spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. The journey of an awakening spirit is about teaching you a variety of tools that you can use to step into your true self. It is about self-discovery, realizing you are not alone on your journey. We will open the phone lines, give readings, and talk about what our listeners want to know. So please welcome the host of the journey of an awakening spirit, Kathleen Flanagan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And today we have Paul Zolman here, and we are going to be talking about awakening love after anger from childhood trauma. But first, we are going to do a little bit of sound where we're going to bring in love, happiness, and balance. Paul Zolman is the international best-selling author of The Role of Love, but the true author of Love is God. In his wisdom, he placed us in a variety of circumstances that require us to find our way back to his pure love. So what qualifies me to speak about love? My childhood experience of the opposite of love. From the austere beginning and the distaste it formed inside of me, I searched and eventually created a method that transformed my life from anger to loving everyone. Growing up in a family of abuse, physical touch became my preferred love style, only because of the regularity. I could almost count on it. It was consistent. I came to think that what was the way to express love. But deep inside, I knew that was a twisted belief. I wanted a better life for myself, which is why I created a paradigm shift that works. In this book, you'll find what helped me move from a childhood boot camp of abuse to being a person who loves everyone and can find good about anyone in any circumstance. This is truly the role of love. I hope you join us. Well, welcome, Paul. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank
So
you,
tell
Kathleen.
me,
What a pleasure to be with you.
yeah, I know that we've had a little bit of time issues sometimes, but you know, what happens? It's time changes. What do we do? Soon that'll change, right?
That's right.
Anyways, just why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about your story and what caused this wake up, so to speak, in going from abuse and anger to love as a new way of being?
Kathleen, I thank you for that. I think that I just want to start back with my grandfather. He was a born in Indiana and married, had 9 children. Soon after that ninth child was born, that grandmother passed away, and he made some decisions in a critical time frame that he didn't realize that you should not do that when you're in a crisis or something. You should not make major life decisions. Well, he made a decision to sell the farm, and he made a decision to sell all the equipment of that farm too. When people came to pick up the equipment, what happened was that he also said something like this. According to my uncle, who was one of these people, he said, "And would you like this child? And would you like this child? And would you like this child?" Until systematically that grandfather gave all the children away except for one. He
Oh
took
my
that
God.
one. Yeah, exactly. So what a horrible decision. So he took that one child, Benjamin, with him to Montana found a school teacher that had never been married, married her, had 10 more children, of which my father is number 6. So 19 children here. So my father, Kathleen, was born in 1922. When he's 10 years old in 1932, this grandfather passes away. So now you have 19 abandoned children, and you have the financial crisis of the Great Depression, 1932. All this compounded together just created more of a crisis situation that became crisis management rather than a planned management. All these things, all put together, kind of made it a hard situation for my father. At 10 years old, he kept going back to school for a little bit, but he only graduated from 8th grade. That was it. Became a truck driver, and that's how I knew him when I was growing up. I'm number 10 of 11 children, so generationally, my father improved the generation. He didn't have 19 children, Kathleen. I've done a little bit better. I've done a little bit better myself. I only have 8 children. Only 8.
Hey, we're making progress.
We are making progress. Well, I'm not so sure it's progress either because now my children, Kathleen, only have 3. I want more grandchildren. I thought that was the whole deal, that we have children so we can have grandchildren. They're the best. So,
I love it. I love it.
well, as I'm growing up and my father's a truck driver, he is gone during the week and he comes home on Friday. Every single Friday, I love this about my father. Every single Friday, he takes my mother on a date. He's not very creative about it. It's always the Maverick Bar, and it's always over alcohol. And I can imagine, I was never there, but I can imagine my mother and father, after any couple would, over a period of time, would be away from each other. They're saying, well, how was your week? How was your week? And they're just disclosing what happened. I can imagine my mother, starting at the oldest, which is a boy, starting at the oldest and just going right down the line. By the time my mother gets to number 10, my father's been annoyed, 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 annoyed. He's ready to blow. And I'm number 10. And I felt like I felt like I had the brunt of all that my older brothers did. And it was just one of those things. It was either the belt or it was a severe spanking. And so that type of abuse happened in the childhood. It was verbal. And it seemed like it was just that mental capacity or an incapacity to, and lack of education to pass things on, lack of good decision making, passed on from my grandfather. It may have even started long before that grandfather, because we kind of pick up what our parents teach us. Well, my brothers and sisters, most of them have been educated now and gone through college, received college degrees. So in this generation, it's just different for my siblings and myself. But I had that residual anger, Kathleen, of that childhood for a very long time. Up until about age 35, I just kept blaming my father for all awkward situations that I had. Whether it was in public, for myself, I found I had that stack, 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 all those annoyances until you get to a time that I'm fed up. It's time to blow. And then you go back down. So I really feel like that was one thing that, one coping mechanism, so to speak, that my father passed on to me. I didn't like it. And in that moment of age 35, I realized I'm responsible for my own life, my own decisions. My father, Kathleen, had already been dead for 7 years. Here I was, 35 years old. I'm still blaming him for all those social things, all those things going wrong in my life. And I realized I can't blame him anymore. I just can't continue to blame him. I decided and I remember distinctly making this decision. I don't want to be angry. And I said it in that way. And coming from a negative background, that's a perfect statement for a negative person to make. It wasn't going to help me to say it like that. It was like two double negatives. And if you multiply a negative number against a negative number in math, you get a positive result. it wasn't working in relationships. It wasn't happening. So speed forward a little bit. Now I've got my 8 children. And after 23 and a half years, I believe this anger and these fits that I was having from time to time actually were contributory to the demise of my first marriage. After the 8 children, and the divorce, I had primary custody of the 5 remaining children in the home. With that, I she would have one weekend, I'd have the one weekend with the children, and I had them the rest of the time. But when it came to the time that she had them on her weekend, I had plans. What I was going to do, I was going to do destination dating. And what that is I'd find a woman for online that lived in a different city, and I lived in a different city. We'd choose a city, we'd meet, we'd have a date, and then we'd go home. And it was fabulous. I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and Daytona Beach, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Cabo San Lucas, New York City, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Kansas City, Nashville. All these places was having a great time in my life. I did it for about a year and a half, spent over $10,000 just on all that travel, and didn't find anybody to date. I thought I had a line on someone down in Phoenix, so I moved there. Bad idea. It was a bad idea. Didn't work out. So here I am all alone in Phoenix. My wife, or my ex-wife at the time, had decided that she was going to go back and move with her parents, and she wanted to take the children with. And there were 3 children left in the household. This was about 3.5 years after the divorce. So there are just 3 children now left in the household. So she wanted to take them with her. I thought this would be a great opportunity for those last 3 to really get to know their grandparents, which they didn't know very well. And I thought these people are really good people. And so I relinquished primary custody to her. So I'm all alone, absolutely all alone. I get a call from my older sister, and I'm kind of that thorn between 2 roses. I had an older sister and a younger sister, and you can understand why my father would be so angry now, because he valued women. He took his wife out every Friday night. That if I looked cross-eyed or anything at my sisters, I was in trouble because I'm right there in the middle, and it was just bad. So my older sister calls and says, "I have a neighbor that I want to introduce to you." And I said, "Sister, I'm 7 hours away from you. Why would I want to get to know your neighbor? I've done all this destination dating. It doesn't work." And she said, "Oh, come on." Just like Big Sister said. And at number 10 of 11, you got to do what your oldest siblings say. You don't really have a lot to say. In fact, Kathleen, just to emphasize that a little bit, I was the remote control for the TV during the day. Whatever those older siblings wanted, however they want the channel changed on the TV, I'm the guy walking up to the TV, turning the knob to the next channel. So that's kind of the way the situation was. So you can relate, I guess.
Oh, I totally can relate to this. I come from a family of 7, so I know.
Yeah, there you go. So I said, well, I'll start emailing her. And what kind of relationship can you build with email? I didn't think there'd be anything there. And so I started emailing, but she was an excellent writer, this neighbor, my sister, excellent writer. And so after 4 or 5 emails, I'm thinking, this is kind of interesting. She's really a good writer. And I thought, I'm going to ask her a question. I'm going to ask, well, how many times have you been married? Yeah, it takes a while to work up to that, to ask those kind of questions. And so I thought, well, as I'm doing that and waiting for the answer, getting really excited because what if she doesn't write back and that sort of thing? She writes back and she says, "Counting the 5 that are buried in the backyard." And I thought, I got a live one here. I got somebody that has a little bit of personality, a little bit of fun. I thought, this is somebody worth pursuing a little bit. So I moved up close to where my sister was just to pursue the relationship. Yeah, after I visited a few times, but then I moved up there and we started getting more serious. Now it's time for Big Brother approval. Number 10 of 11, I got to have that too. So I traveled 300 miles north with this woman, and we go into my brother's house. And the first thing my sister-in-law does was pull her aside and say, the only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first I denied it. I said, then it made me mad. And I thought, I'm busted. She really nailed it. And I thought from that moment, if there's any way to change that image of the Zolman family, now was the time. I had the opportunity to do that.
So we're going to go take a quick commercial break and continue on with this fabulous story.
Thank you.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBN Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host on the Journey of an Awakening Spirit, and we are talking with Paul Zolman, and he has one funny story. It wasn't funny at the time, I know that, but boy, he's got a great sense of humor telling it today. So I am looking forward to you continuing on when you finally meet your woman friend and how that unfurls with your family with they're just angry.
Well, Kathleen, it was a really interesting experience. I realized that I needed to change that attitude of the family, but not even project that perception into the future. So I had to stop that perception and become more loving, to present more of loving approach. And I really liked an analogy. I the other day I was out walking and I found a stick, and one side of the stick is really smooth and perfect spot for your hand. It's about the size of a walking stick, about 3.5 feet long. Other side of the stick, though, it has some little points on it, little knots here and there. I'm going to call this the naughty side of the stick, and then this one, the nice side of the stick. Just like Santa Claus. I'm sure Santa Claus has a stick like that. You probably wondered where you got your presents from. It's from the naughty and nice stick. So I realized that this culture of anger was on the naughty side of the stick. It included the humor, it included the put downs, the sarcasm. All that is really kind of a culture of itself, vocabulary, everything on that naughty side of the stick. I said, well, I really need to whitewash or clean up my vocabulary, learn loving languages instead of languages that put people down. Help learn the language that would build people up and bring them up in how they feel about themselves, but how I feel about them too. Quit sending out those barbs. Quit sending out those type of things that would put people down and make them feel bad and make, even if it's funny, at their expense. And I thought that's really kind of an angry culture. And I realized that, but I realized also that when I learned the spectrum, or when my sister kind of highlighted where I was on the spectrum, I'm on the naughty side of the stick. Kind of makes you squirm. If you're on the naughty side of the stick, you don't want to be there. I did not want to be on that side of the stick. So I realized I had three choices: that I could continue to blame someone for my choices, and it's their fault. I don't have to change. If I can blame someone, it's their fault, and they're the ones that have to change. So I don't move on the stick there. I stay in my same spot as I continue to blame. It's the victim mentality. It's their fault. That's one choice. Second choice was, well, I could become more angry. That wasn't even an option. Did not want that. So the other choice was just to become more loving. So I started reading the color code and the five love languages, and it really settled on the principles of the five love languages. And this is why. Dr. Chapman was a reverend or a pastor, and he said that they reconciled to the life of Jesus Christ. Well, I did my own reconciliation, and they actually did. That really attracted me because I'm Christian. I wanted that type of lifestyle anyway. Did not know how to get from point A, where I was A for anger, big A, to point B, to that loving side of the stick, the nice side of the stick. So as I read through the book, and I read the book 4 or 5 times, I did not get it. You mean to tell me, Kathleen, that if I guess what your love language is and I cater to that, we're going to be buddies? Dr. Chapman, that doesn't sound like love at all. And who am I to say what love is from where I came from? But that didn't sound like it. It didn't work for me because I'm a bad guesser. It wasn't working for me. The second thing that Dr. Chapman had didn't work either. He said, well, if you take this survey, then you can find out what your love language is. Then what? What do I do? Advertise? Hello, Kathleen. I'm Gifts. What do you have for me today? Awkward. I'm done with awkward. I've already been on awkward already. I don't need more awkward in my life or in my family. So I thought, you know what? I have an idea. Even as dysfunctional as our family was growing up, what pulled us together was games. Just having games together. Sure, there was still the put downs, there was still the competitiveness. You can imagine 11 children at a table and you're passing the food around and hoping that there's some left at the end if you're number 10. You're hoping that it comes back and you get something. And you take enough for 2 servings because you don't know that you're ever going to get second. So it's just that kind of thing. So it's just that kind of family. You can relate with 7. But that just didn't work for me either. Just the survey and the guessing, but the games were fun. And I thought, what if I made this a game? So I contacted Dr. Chapman and asked him, are you licensing those little icons, those little pictures that you have of the different love languages? Are you licensing that? And his attorney wrote me back and said, no, we're not doing that at this time. And I was grateful because they're 30 years old and they're kind of antiquated. They're ugly. They're just flat out. They're just, I didn't like it. But so I contacted an attorney, local attorney, and he said that he's a copyright attorney, intellectual property attorney is what I needed. He said that theory, like the love languages, is not copyrightable. Application is. So the way you present it is copyrightable. So I thought, well, with that information, I can make my own little pictures of representing the love languages and then make it into a game. So that's what I did. And I put the pictures on a cube like this. So there you have an hourglass on a hand representing time. A server holding a plate represents service. And these are all pictures. You might note that there are no words at all. And this one is 2 hands put together to make a heart, and then like a comic strip of a conversation fly out, meaning the words from the heart. So those would be the words. These 2 hands put together are for touch, and then the last one would be the gifts. 5 love languages, 6 sides on the die. I had to create a new side for the sixth side, and this one surprised me. So Kathleen, there's just two instructions. You roll the die every day. Whatever comes up, that's the love language that you practice giving away all day that day, all day to everyone. I was single when I created this, and so I did not have a significant other, as Dr. Chapman says you should practice it with a significant other. I didn't have one. So I decided, well, who am I going to love? I said, well, I'll just love everybody. And actually, it's worked out a whole lot better because what I was looking for was a character transformation. That was something that you have to practice almost every single minute to get to the point that it's a habit now. So that worked really well for me, not to have that significant other as Dr. Chapman to practice on, but actually to practice it to everybody I came in contact with. What I found, Kathleen, was that people would light up. When they lit up, I discovered what their primary love language is or a secondary love language.
Mm.
No longer do I have to pause the relationship and say, excuse me, could you take this survey so I know how to love you? Awkward. We're done with awkward. You don't have to do that anymore. It's over. So this way you're watching and just taking mental notes of what people like. And as you do that, you'll find that people like words, they like the compliments. Everybody likes the compliments, and people light up that way. Some people won't, but they'll like something else. So as you're rolling the die over a 30-day period, you will have gone through giving away all 5 love languages, all 5, so that you know them backwards and forwards. You become what I like to call a love language linguist. Sexy title. I know you want it. Everybody wants that title. So you can have it. And the second thing that happens is that by giving it away, you can see it when it comes your way and respond appropriately. It gives you that peripheral vision that you didn't have before. Most people are a little myopic. They can only see what they like as love. But this way you see, oh, they're loving on me. It's not my primary love language, but I can respond appropriately. Now you have understanding. You have a better communication because you're multilingual as it relates to love languages.
And so when you did that, I mean, did you just watch your anger start falling away because you gained more clarity about yourself and how people are? I mean, is that part of what caused that? I mean, yes, you're bringing more love in, but there's still anger is still anger, and anger takes a while, especially when you're talking the generational anger that you had. So I'm just kind of curious about like dialing in just a little bit more because I know that you had this woman was coming in. Did you practice on her? Did your relationship move forward with her? Did it not go forward? Did you just say, no, I just need to keep working on me for a little bit longer? I mean, just share that a little bit because I think what you have is really cool and what a beautiful way to like really change how you perceive yourself in your life. But there's still more that you're not sharing yet.
You're really perceptive, Kathleen. No wonder you're so good at what you do. I love that question. Thank you. So you're absolutely right that what happened for me is that I still had the anger. Even I did end up marrying that woman that I took to my brother's house, but I still had the problems, and it still flared. And she felt she was very sensitive, and it didn't work out. So after 4 years, we divorced. So I'm still single, but all the time during that time, I'm trying to work on trying to love better, and just I don't know if she didn't see that I was trying, or wasn't trying hard enough, or whatever it was. I just wasn't getting rid of the anger until I realized what it was, that I was being annoyed at what other people were doing. I was annoyed. I was trying to make a decision for someone else, trying to overlay my expertise or my understanding on someone else when it's their life, their choices, and whatever they're choosing to do. It was annoying me. And I said, that's not even my lane. What am I doing? Why am I being annoyed at what they're doing? It's their life. What do I choose to do? And then what am I going to do? And then how am I going to do that? It became more of what I was focusing on. And it became really easy with the die because what I was saying before was, what's wrong with them? Why are they doing that? Now, after rolling the die, I'm saying, what's right with that person? What can I love about that person? Two different directions of thought. What's wrong to versus what's right. I was so busy, Kathleen, focusing on what's right with that person, what can I love about that person, I completely forgot to be annoyed. Absolutely forgot. So I instead of stacking instead of stacking those annoyances on top of one another, I wasn't getting annoyed at all. But now I started stacking kindnesses. And what happened was really magical because these love languages I found to be very basic pieces of love, very basic. And stacking,
Can we talk about that when we get back from after hearing a word from our sponsors?
of course.
Thank you.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And we are talking with Paul Zolman on the 5 love languages. And I have to tell you, I had a realization when you said that when you were working on getting over your anger, you kept looking at what was people annoyed you and the things that kept compounding. And I sat there and thought, that's what I do too sometimes. Because as I'm working through my anger and it just flares sometimes, I've always like, okay, what caused this to flare up? And I never really looked at it that it was just an annoyance. And then how I can just go down a rabbit hole. Because I did that this weekend. I went down a rabbit hole over something and I got over it. I finally just like, God, please help me to understand this and see the bigger picture. Because, we have to do that. Because I didn't like being in that kind of anger because I was just like, my feelings were hurt. So instead of letting anybody know my feelings are hurt, I'm going to be this meanie person, and I didn't want to do that. So I just love what you said about just really changing that perception and then using the die. I mean, if I had something like that, I probably would have got out of it way sooner than just stewing in it, so to speak. So please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's the die that's really doing it, but it's the whole idea that you're setting a theme for the day to love,
right.
a determination to love. So these annoyances, I found that as I'm stacking annoyance on top of annoyance on top of annoyance, it's almost like they're stair steps to that angry flash. And if you contrast that now that we're stacking with rolling the die, we're stacking kindness on top of kindness, on top of kindness, on top of kindness. And where's that leading to? Well, that's what I'm saying, that these love languages are really, really basic. Everybody should know all 5 love languages. to better communicate in the world to your family, to your friends, to your loved ones, to everybody. You should know these 5 love languages. It's basic. And why I'm saying it's basic, because these are the stair steps I've discovered that will bring you to compassion, to charity, to sympathy, to empathy, to forgiveness, even to intimacy. This brings you up to that level that it takes kindness to get there. It takes stacking these kindnesses one on top of another to get to that point. So very similarly, as it was for anger and these annoyance, whatever it was, those annoyances that would stack up and take you to that angry flash, these love steps or these loving kindnesses that you're sending out now take you to the different steps, that higher law of love, that deeper and more profound love. That you can get there, but you have to practice the love languages to get there. I think they get through there.
Well, and I found that in the last couple of years when I decided to really dial in and move through more anger. I mean, I've been working through anger my whole life, so I understand. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and you have. I thought I had problems. You had way worse. Nothing offensive, but you know how I never look at it. I always think somebody has it worse than me. I've never really taken on a total victim role of, poor me, because I just never bought into it. But when I would see that, I would still have these tendencies of just getting angry or frustrated, and it was really bothering me. It was like, okay, you got to stop and look at what's going further on inside of you. And what I found is that, well, when I started laughing more, like just finding more joy in my life, because it's always there, I just never pay attention because my attention's someplace else. So when I decided to change my focus, change like my self-image, how I'm perceiving life, looking at things that are more fun, because my partner laughs at everything. And I'm like, what is he laughing at? So I paid attention to him because he just finds joy, and people love to be around him. He's one of the nicest guys on the planet. And he's definitely a gift from God, because this girl, I don't know how I managed to bring him in, other than I chose that I wanted to change and be a better person. And because of that, it brought that in. And so we help each other in that. And so that's what I found, is just by changing my perception made a big difference. And then I saw how my outer world was changing towards me too. Like, people were liking me. I'm like, what do you mean you like me? You're not supposed to like me. I don't even know what that means, because I had kept people at a distance my whole life to protect myself. So I used my anger to protect myself, because I am incredibly sensitive, and I felt everything. And I mean, I would just cry all the time. I used to be told I was a crybaby, because that's all I knew how to do, was just let it out. So I cried. I cry now all the time now, but not because I'm being hurt, but things touch me, things move me, my heart's opening, the compassion, things like that. I just have that sensitivity that I'm allowing the world to see, that softer, kinder, gentler side that I have protected my whole life. And, and I think with the die that you talk about, I mean, it is, because I've done that in the past too, of what do I want to focus on today? Because it's like, well, I want more peace in my life, and everything comes up where you're not peaceful, but that's the point. God delivers what we need to learn by giving us these so-called obstacles. Like, I feel like if I want to feel more worthy and deserving, well, God's not just going to put a wand on my head and make me feel more worthy and deserving. He's going to put situations in front of me to find my worth and value, how to find that peace inside of me in chaos. And that's how it works. So, and then having the tool that you have, it just makes it, it's something tangible that people are using. And I think that's a great way. I mean, what a beautiful way to start changing your perception and being nicer, because you're practicing a particular love gift. And I can't say I know everybody's gift. I don't know what mine is. I don't know what my partner's is. I think he likes more of the touch thing. I think he coos when there's more touch going on. It's like, well, you're cooing.
Oh. So just watch them light up. And I think that's the key. I think there's one more thing that we just kind of glazed over a little bit, that what helped me understand just that self-actualization of what describes the behavior that I'm doing right now. And when I realized what word describes the behavior that I'm doing right now, I think, well, what would be the opposite of that word? Like, for example, if I was being sarcastic, what would be the opposite of sarcastic? And I would put actually sarcasm on the naughty side of the stick. And I know we had a discussion about this, that it's really funny. Sometimes it can be very funny, and sometimes in a joking way. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not that funny. But even that, those, it's like a barb, and it would be on the naughty side of the stick. When you contrast that and think of what would be the opposite of that, what comes to mind for me is somebody being genuine, somebody being authentic, somebody being true. And when you can contrast those two traits with the antonyms and what the synonyms might be of that, realize that I want to be more on the genuine side of the stick, on more authentic than I do want to be sarcastic. And you just start moving toward those character traits as you learn them. And you'll get it, like you said, one line upon line, precept on precept, here a little, there a little, just a little bit at a time. And thank goodness that God provides it to us in that way. We can't be overloaded with what a horrible person we are all at one time. And we're not horrible. We're not really horrible people. I would say that most people, and it's funny that we'd focus on what's wrong with that person and look at that 10 or 20% of that person. Maybe they do have faults. Maybe they do have weaknesses, as everybody does. Why focus on that? Why magnify that? Whatever you magnify is going to get bigger. Why do you want that weakness in them to get bigger? And why would you even be looking at it? Because guess what? You're looking at their weaknesses. What's going to happen to you? They're going to look back at your weaknesses and then tear you apart too. Why would you even start that? Why would you even do that? So it's just stop in your tracks, realize what you're doing, have that self-actualization, come to Jesus moment, if you will, whatever you want to call it. Just look where you're at right now, find out what is the opposite of this behavior, and then you'll find out which side of the stick it's on, the naughty side or the nice side of the stick. Stay toward the nice side of the stick, and that's going to help you do that 1% per day. You don't have to do it all in a day, but just that 1% per day. But for me, I was just, it was almost as if I was ignoring anything that possibly could aggravate me or annoy me, ignoring that while I'm rolling the die, because I was hyper focused on watching what I could love about that person and what is good about that person. Trying to train my mind now to focus on that 80% or that 90% that's good in that person, rather than that 10 or 20% that's not.
And I believe that if we, the people on the planet, actually did that, what we're going through wouldn't be happening anymore. You know,
Absolutely.
We're not going to be looking at the color of your skin or your religion or whatever is going on with a person, because we all have it. And I think people are just so terrified of being vulnerable that it's easier to put out this front, because look at the garbage that's on TV with these reality shows and that just does something that brings out your insecurities, in my opinion, because I won't watch them. But when you see like little commercials, it's like, why would you put yourself through that? Why would you do that to yourself? Because that is just belittling yourself. It's shaming yourself. You know, you think it's all about the money, and it's not, because you're going on like national television to show like, look at me, I'm totally screwed up. Oh yeah, let me just compound on that. So, I mean, I just sit there and think like what you're saying is just so right on the money, because that when I started focusing on more of like what's happening with people, like somebody could be having a bad day in the grocery store. You know, the checker could be really bitchy about something. And instead of taking it, and she's taking it out on you, not that she probably intends to, but it's like, just smile back, or just let her be compassionate and say, I hope your day improves. Because you don't know. She could have a child, a sick kid at home, or hospitalized, or her mother passed away or something. You know what I mean? And if we just show compassion I think that would make such a huge difference in how we treat each other, and we come back more into a godlike creature where love is expressing instead of anger and hate and frustration and jealousy and whatever else is out there.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead.
Yeah,
We're going to go ahead and take a quick short minute break to hear a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, you can let people know how we can get a hold of you.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you, Kathleen.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host with The Journey of an Awakening Spirit, and we are talking with Paul Zolman. And Paul, if there's anything else that you would like to share with the audience about everything we talked about, or have any insight or any recommendations, how you think, could help them, and then also how can we get a hold of you?
Thank you, Kathleen. There is one more thing that I want to talk about. We're talking about languages here, and whether it's an angry language or a loving language. But I want to talk about a Sanskrit dialect in northern India. From that Sanskrit dialect, we get some great words. We get like the word nirvana, which is really kind of coming to yourself. We get the word karma. But the word I want to talk about today is namaste. Namaste is kind of where hands are put together at the end of a yoga class and the person's bowing their head and then they say namaste. It doesn't mean, hey, y'all, class is over. You can go home now. It doesn't mean that. And it really has a kind of a sacred meaning in that dialect and in that Southeast Asia area, that it's a greeting, but it's a very sincere and sacred greeting. What it truly means in the Hindu interpretation of it is that it's the God in me sees the God in you. Yep. Or put another way, the divine in me sees the divine in you. And really that's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to get that mindset, that watch for that divine in other people and just focus on that and help lift their day, make their day better, make their day the very best day possible. What they're going to do with that is they're going to spread that cheer to all their circle of influence as well. And that's really what we want to do. We want to make the world a more cheerful place in doing that. You can contact me at my website, roleoflove.com, ROLE of love.com. We did a play on words. I live just 2 hours north of Las Vegas. The dice was the magical thing that was the right choice for that. But it's ROLL for rolling the die out, and that's outside you. ROLE actually will change you inside. That's what we're looking for, is that paradigm shift so that you can watch for opportunities to love instead of watch for opportunities to hate or to put somebody down. ROLE of love.com. And that's how you can get a hold of me. You can buy a bundle right now. It's a whole lot less. For $29.99, you can get the book, a die, a journal to keep track of what you rolled, opportunities you saw to love in that way, and what you did about those opportunities. Becomes a love legacy journal for now and for your posterity. Be a great thing to pass down through the generations to show what was there to love in your day, what did you do about it, and just a great legacy book. But you can get that for $29.99. It's a whole lot less than just one therapy session.
I love that. I mean, what a great thing to do that, because I know that I've seen people that are trying to create legacy books about families and traditions and things like that. So I think this is a beautiful, beautiful way to change the paradigms and that we have been bestowed by our parents for generations. It's time for us to break all of that and come back into the true essence of who we are, which is love. And just say, no, this world is crazy, but I don't have to be crazy with it. I'm going to show you another way of being, and I'm going to be the light and shine my light. And I think you're doing an amazing job. You have a great sense of humor about just what happened to you. And you just thank you so much for being on the show, Paul. It was truly a pleasure to have you. And I learned a lot about you, myself, and I have a lot more to go, as we all do. But it was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. You're a delightful hostess. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that if you like the show, then feel free to send the link off to your friends and families. I think you'll really enjoy the show. This was a lot of fun. I laughed. It's probably the most laughter I've done on a show in a while. And feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel at KathleenMFlanagan.com. And if you want to learn more about Paul and who he is, at podcast.KathleenMFlanagan.com, there will be a link to Paul and how to get a hold of him. And there'll be more details about the show as well. So you can see that. I'm also offering Brave TV is the coupon for Awakening Spirit for essential oil products and CBD products at grandmasnaturalremedies.net. And then my books, Dancing Souls, The Journey of an Awakening Spirit, The Call, and The Dark Night of the Soul are on Amazon and at Kathleen M. Flanagan. So it'll give you a little bit more in depth about who I am, what I've gone through, the journey of waking up and what our masters have gone through. And every person that comes on, they all have their own journey, and it is all part of this awakening process. It's what our grand masters went through because they went through all of their demons as well. And I think that's all I have to say. So one more thing, Paul. What would be one thing that you would recommend somebody to do to make one small change in their life?
One thing, I would turn off the TV for most of the time and really monitor how much you're watching the TV or even media, internet, for that matter, because I think that we really have been trained by the media to look at negative things. Look what this person did that was totally wrong. And we focus on that. We think that's mainstream society, when actually there's only a few that are committing crimes, very few that are doing all these negative things. They're not looking at the big picture of all the good things that are going on in the world. And we really, if there's one thing to do, just step back from the media so that you can determine who you want to be and how you want to send love out. Start with yourself, then go to your family. Your family will go to your neighborhood, then go to the community, go to your state, go to the nation, the world. And we really need to step it out just like that. Who can you be kind to today? Who can you have a better day? And if just like you, Kathleen, you said you thought you had problems until you met me, or you thought you had a childhood that was rough until you met me. I'm so glad to be here to make your day a whole lot better, and in that way.
And there was nothing offensive. I meant no offense by that whatsoever, Paul.
I
I mean,
wasn't.
it's just
I
like
was not
19
offended.
kids is like, wow.
I was absolutely not offended, but I thought it was. That's really the essence of this. That if there are people that are having worse days than you, the best way to lift yourself up and to help you get out of your doldrums that you're in is to lift someone else. It's not really
Yeah,
that self-love thing is really kind of this is how you love yourself is by
right.
giving it away. I love the Sound of Music lyrics that Rolf sings to the Van Trapp sister. Love in the heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till it's given away.
And that's a perfect ending for the show. So again, thank you so much for joining me, Paul. And
Thank you,
maybe
Kathleen.
we'll have you come back another day.
That'd be great. Love it.
This has been The Journey of an Awakening Spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. Join Kathleen each week as she will inspire and empower all those who are drawn to her to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. Right here Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.